This is Johanna. This is you. This is your story. Born and raised in a Christian family, you were raised in believing in a God that exists and the inherent quality of love that resides in all humans. Since your parents were both pastors, you and your sister naturally assumed the theme of love. You grew up having to deal with spontaneous acts of kindness where your parents would invite people to stay at your home without any warning. They preached the doctrine of loving our neighbors, and you did that, or at least you tried. Sometimes, as you would often hear the echoes of their arguing voices in the late hours of the night, you'd question whether it was genuine kindness they projected or just flaky smiles used to impress. You'd question why they could spend hours hanging out with other people but couldn't sit comfortably in the same room with each other for 30 minutes. You questioned why your mom cried on regular occasion in her bathroom. You questioned why your dad rarely came home. You may have been taught to love your neighbors, but as your parents' marriage, the precious core which your fragile childhood memory was built on, degraded before your eyes, you forgot to love yourself. Your older sister quietly graduated from St. Martin de Porres 3 years before you did. While you share the same last name, you always knew that your differences in character could be contrasted and compared. For one, in the public eye, she comes off as an attractively timid woman. She's always been that way. She's always been known as a feminine one. Since you were young, you were filled with liveliness and energy, almost too much that it made it difficult for people to keep up with you. You liked sports and you didn't really care about clothing, but on your 12th birthday, you got a haircut. Then your world shifted. I know you often recall the morning you walked into school as a new person. You and I both know people looked and laughed. You and I both know that as you arrived late to French class, the pink bow you put in your short hair was an attempt to distract public scrutiny from the tears in your eyes. You and I both know that as the room stopped and stared, as the staggered breaths of preteens came to a halt, you suddenly felt conscious of your appearance. But what you didn't know was that this is when you let your walls harden for the first time, and that unique liveliness of yours was locked away. You didn't care before, but until then, you strived to change yourself. You act like a boy. You look like one too, they'd say. So you began to wear makeup. Dress sexier, your dad urged. So you wore tighter clothes. Grass-stained hand-me-downs evolved into red skinny jeans. You began shopping in the women's section at Forever 21 rather than the boys' clearance rack at Walmart. At church, you betrayed your sneakers for wedges. Just like the size 7 heels, your new identity didn't quite fit. But when you tried to walk with confidence that one Sunday morning, you never expected to be told these 5 words that would haunt you for the rest of your adolescence. You look like a prostitute. Until then, you never depended so strongly on the walls you had built. And like Ryan Gosling and Lars in The Real Girl, isolation became your friend. But you were in want of human comfort. Quickly, like your parents' marriage, your confidence degraded. You revisited the loose clothing. You found comfort in baggy sweaters on hot summer days. You cried every night while staring out of your window. You were so unhappy with yourself that the laugh lines that once traced your smiling mouth smoothed and faded. You wanted someone to call you beautiful for once, because God forbid you being a conceited liar. Johanna, if only you knew the difference between humility and insecurity. To this day, I mourn about the way you treated yourself. You yearned to be free from the shadow of depression that you casted upon yourself. And if I could have been there with you, I'd hug you tightly and hold your hand the way no boy, no friend, no parent ever did. But you didn't have me. You had someone better. You had God. One night you were given a revelation, Isaiah chapter 9, verse 2. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. And quietly yet gradually, you regained lost confidence as you trudged through high school. Just last year, you began to wear tighter clothes again. Sometimes you even wore makeup. Only sometimes, though, if you wanted to spoil yourself a little. Boys came and went, but there was one that left his own footprint. A one-sided crush stretched into 6 long months of daily tears and late-night Skype sessions with your friends, but he never became your Romeo. Or perhaps in a way he was, because like the Capulets and the Montagues, it was never meant to happen. And maybe, just maybe, this heartbreak was meant to prepare you for the hazard ahead.